My furniture was all gone, so I didn't really feel at home. The only place I was at home was in my own bedroom.
Than anything, company. And now she wonders how she'll recover.
The life savings is one thing, but then what it does to you emotionally is worse.
Our elders, but it's a sad fact that elder abuse is happening here in Australia, with older people physically, emotionally or financially harmed. Very often it's someone in their own family who is involved, but much of this abuse is hidden away. Seniors Rights Victoria Manager Jenny Blakely joins us now from Melbourne. Good morning, Jenny. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, elder abuse can take many forms. Do we know how many people are harmed?
We don't know exactly. There have been some sort of studies in Australia which suggest 5 to 6% of older people over the age of 60, but there's been no rigorous studies, so it's very hard to know. The World Health Organisation suggests it could be up at as high as 1 in 10.
Do you have any idea how much money is actually grasped by relatives from older people?
Again, there haven't been really good studies around this, but one of the things that we find is that there's a lot of financial abuse, and for older people that can mean their home. And so when you're talking about a loss of a home, we are talking about $500 to $1 million. There was a study done in Queensland where a service similar to ours looked at the amount that was involved with financial abuse, and it was an average of about $300,000, $500,000 per person.
And as well as financial abuse, what other types of abuse are there?
There's psychological or emotional abuse, and you can imagine if you're experiencing financial abuse, you're going to experience that sort of abuse as well. So that's sort of the yelling at someone, the demeaning, the putting down, the controlling behaviour. There's also physical abuse, there's social abuse, so isolating someone, not letting them answer the phone or getting them out. And there's also sexual abuse and neglect.
Jenny, it's just awful to think that family members are preying on their elderly relatives, you know, some of the most vulnerable people in our community. What can be done to protect people, do you think?
Yes, it is shocking to think that this occurs, but we know that family violence occurs, so violence doesn't stop as someone gets older. What's important is that people are aware of it. I think that people don't really know about it, and they're sensitive and they look out for signs. So maintaining contact with older people can become isolated as they get older. It's harder for them to get out and about and they lose their friends. So maintaining contact and observing what happens. So if there's any changes in behaviour, suddenly they seem to be less able to afford things than they used to be able to afford. They become more withdrawn or quiet or depressed. They could be for many reasons, but it's worth maintaining the relationship and having a conversation.
Now, I understand your group is hosting a national conference soon. What do you hope to emerge from that conference?
We're hoping that we're going to show new sort of practices and ways of responding to the problem from what people have done around Australia and also overseas. So we're hoping that we're going to learn a lot and mean that we're able to respond better. It's a sort of problem which involves a lot of people. It can involve the GP, it can involve the accountant or someone who does the tax return, as well as other family members. So we're trying to make all those people aware who work with older people how to look out for it and how to respond.
So, Jenny, often many of us would hope that family we can actually trust, but in these circumstances, obviously, some people can't. So where can they go to for that safe, independent advice?
Well, they can certainly contact us in Victoria at Seniors Rights Victoria, or interstate. There's similar organisations and they're listed on our website, which is www.seniorsrights.org.au. So I'd suggest that they contact that independent service or talk to their doctor. Or some health professional that they may trust, where they could have this conversation about what's happening to them and what they'd like to do. The controller's with them about what they would like to do.
Jenny, I first read about elder abuse in 1994. I remember it well. And it's still on the increase. And it seems to me that a lot of older people are very they're frightened. They don't like to admit that their children, and that's often what it is, their children are abusing them, or deadlocking them and leaving them at home, or taking their property and so on. How do you reach these older people that their children are cutting off from seeing anybody?
You're right, it's very hard. Older people feel a great sense of shame. They sort of feel like, I've been a bad parent, it's my fault that this has happened, that I need to do something. Or they have that parental responsibility and love that, oh, if I keep trying or keep helping, once a parent, always wanting to help out your kids. So there can be that excusing that behaviour to the detriment of themselves. So it's a matter of having that conversation and bringing it out into the open and saying it does occur, because this shame occurred quite a few decades ago around family violence. So once we start talking about it and naming it and saying it's occurring, then it becomes easier, a little, for older people to actually have a conversation and talk about it in a way that says, what do you want to do and how can we help that change?